of matter, and I am doing a December 2023 for all ascendants. This is for Taurus ascendant. So moon day, sun hour, sun is combusting Mars at 27 degrees in the 7th house. Ascendant is in Taurus. It wasn't pre-elected, and the moon is applying to conjunct Saturn in the 11th house. Moon is on the anaretic degree of Aquarius, ruled by Saturn, which is in Pisces, 0 degrees. Venus is in the 6th house in Libra. All in all, nice, and let's begin. So for Taurus ascendant, Sun, Moon, or Stellium, but first ascendant, this month you're gonna have a new moon in your 8th house, a full moon in your 3rd house. Okay, you're going to have Chiron going direct in your 12th house, and you're going to have Jupiter going direct in your first house, which is a big event, and Neptune going direct in your 11th house. Mercury is going to go retrograde in your 9th house. Now let's talk about this, because you're having a brand new beginning in the 8th house, which some people are not so excited about, because the 8th house is the things we swipe under the rug, and you are asked to actually tend to that which you have been swiping under the rug. So this can be an issue with how you're investing money, inheritance, wealth you're sharing with another person. Can also be in energy or beliefs, because this is Sagittarius here, and this directly affects your life path and your physical being. Okay, so is there some inherent thing that is affecting you physically? It can be belief that is waiting on your physical body, which is important not to address just the belief, but also to validate yourself, especially when Jupiter is in Venus sign. So it's not like I'm going to change my belief. You also need to validate yourself for having this belief to begin with, and work with both the validation of you and the opening to another point of view or another philosophy that can perhaps alleviate something. But you're beginning to tend to something that can also involve debt. You could take on a mortgage, okay, or it depends on what it is, and where is Venus and Jupiter natally for you. But you could take on a new debt or a new investment, and that's the lunation. The lunation of, and this is in 13 December, on 27 December, you're going to have a full moon, and this is in your 3rd house. So it is in Cancer, it is in your 3rd house. You need to see where your moon is in your natal chart, because it's going to affect that house as well. And that can have to do with your communication, your relations with your siblings. Do you feel safe around the closest to you? Do you feel safe around your neighborhood? What nourishment do you need from the closest to you? What nourishment do you need around your neighborhood? Or what do the closest to you need as nourishment? How do you care for your close environment? Okay, your neighbors, your siblings, and that can have to do with communication, that can have to do with errands, the type of walks you walk every day. With Cancer, Cancer has to do with anything that is nourishing, that is caring, but also projection. Okay, so there can be some emotional eating habits that you are releasing, perhaps after you've tended to certain traumas. But that's kind of like this extreme case. So this is in as much as the lunations in your chart. When it comes to your Chiron, okay, I'll begin with Chiron. Chiron is going direct in your 12th house. So tending to your mental health. First of all, the 12th house, your mental health has to do with your identity. Also, your retreats, okay, have to do with your identity. And the way that the unconscious way in which you've had, let's say, unconscious I am statements, okay, could have been addressing some sort of a wound. Now, 12th house can also mean loss. It can also mean some sort of, hospitalization or imprisonment, or in a metaphorical way, but also in an actual way. Or exile or something like this. Hopefully it's not the case for you. But what you need to tend to is how you're redefining the I am statement, whether consciously or unconsciously, and that can improve upon or change your situation. That being said, as Chiron goes direct, it is squaring Neptune. Not it is, Mars is squaring Neptune. Mars, the ruler of Chiron, is squaring Neptune. And that can entail a certain loss crisis to do with things of Neptune, so things going missing, the drugs, or the drugs that you like and the drugs that you dislike, some addictions. So there can be some issue arising as you're reenacting your I amness. And surrender and radical acceptance at every step can assist you. Even the radical acceptance that you don't radically accept yourself is also something that can be helpful in this situation. Now to Jupiter going direct in you first. So Jupiter going direct in you first, of course you're going to feel it. It's your body. When Jupiter was going through my first, I was eating excess sugars, but I also had food when I was in between houses, okay? So Jupiter, you might have more food. You might have the sweet tooth. You might have more food. You might be more confident and more optimistic. There can be, upon the station, some crisis involved in this situation. And that crisis might involve your relationship with your children or your creative project. So because Mercury is going to be in the 22nd degree upon this station in direct, then I do want you to get acquainted with fixed stars like Al-Qaeda, and do petitions or talismanic work. Again, I'm not instructing you because I'm not even professional enough to do that. Okay, I'm just delving into these things, but I want you to get to know and to study yourself and to decide for yourself whether that fits you. So there is Al-Qaeda for his protection, protection from assassination. There is Al-Ghul, which is in your first house, is a fixed star. There's protection from all kinds of ritual abuse and stuff like that, and many other things. I can refer you directly to the person that started creating these talismans and making them available in the original form, and that is Christopher Warnock. So you can learn about it more, and even if you don't buy the talismans, you can. I don't get anything like from this dividends or anything like that. And I'm not and I cannot even recommend you to buy because I don't know your chart and I don't know you. But the thing is that even if you petition, create relations, begin to get acquainted with the wisdom of these beings, then that can facilitate something for you. And because it's going to involve, the ruler of your fifth house, be, and it's going to, and Mercury is going to be in your 8th house, then I do want you to have this information. Okay, so yeah. Another things with this Jupiter in your 1st house, moving forward with your life path, a spiritual advancement that you're going to feel in your body, like literally in your body. This is why I said spiritual body for this, because Jupiter is very spiritual, okay? And your 1st house is the body. So you could be literally studying with your body. You could be studying something that is of a sensual or even kind of like sex positive course, but a more philosophical or spiritual take on it. Because it's not the Mercury applied thingy, it's more like a spiritual, philosophical, yogi kind of a thing. And Tantra is not just about sexuality. It's way more than that. Sexuality is just how you do sexuality within that Tantra. So you could be studying something like that. So we talked about food. We talked about, yes, more food, but it can be kind of like the sweet tooth, or you can enjoy fishes, which can be a great way to cope with that. You might choose your fishes differently. Let's say you ate a lot of salmon, and now you understand that most of the salmons are way more polluted than you thought, so they're not as healthy as we thought that they are. So you kind of change your choice of fishes or food or something like that philosophically, which is a good thing to do with this Jupiter. Anything more? So we talked about, yeah, we talked about the 3 things going direct. Now let's talk about Mercury going retrograde in your 9th house. Mercury retrograde in your 9th house with Saturn in your 11th house in Pisces. There is some paperwork to do with. If you are a member of some sort of like a fraternity, which could be more 8th house, but can also be 9th house, because a lot of people in academia become members in such things. Then there can be things that you discover regarding to who is at the top of the hierarchy, or it's just becoming aware. There's like, hey, let's say I'm a Mason and I don't know who is at the top of the game, and now everything is in controversy, and like up until now I've only seen like healing, good stuff, my life improving, nice ceremonials with my friends, and then I'm being told there's something, or what's going on. And now you could be thinking about, okay, what is missing? I don't know who runs this place. Who runs this show? Okay? It's missing. So information that is missing, and now you notice it, and now it starts to matter to you. And it could be regarding your academic studies or academic education. Some paperwork is missing, or you need to apply for a 2nd degree or a 3rd degree, or apply to study abroad, and there's paperwork to do. You're just kind of going over it. Something is missing or something is popping up. And because of the presence of Neptune, then that can be, in the 11th, can be to do with conferences. Maybe you need to go to a conference, but there's a boycott on your university, kind of like a BDS stuff. And you just something to do with that. If it's traveling as well, then it's like, is there a travel notice, not a travel notice? This could be important. Saturn in the 11th is something that I'm relatively okay with, because Pisces is more visible in the 11th. It's not like the 12th house, the 8th house, or even the 2nd house where you could be, abducted by hates. But it is, it's still, something to do with the issues of Saturn in Pisces. So healthcare or the lack of, refugees, status, paperwork, global things, viral things, and all of the above. Things going missing, people going missing, and so on and so forth. So this is Mercury retrograde for you. Venus is going to go through your seventh house. And you're one of the people that, if other things are showing, you could be starting a relationship or closing a relationship that is significant, that is committed, whether with a business partner or an enemy or a marital partner. Okay, so for you, Scorpio is the seventh house. There ain't no way to change that, and you're just gonna have to find a way to deal with that. What do you do when Venus, that representer of relationships and connections, is going through your seventh house and it is a Scorpio house? So depending if you're a day or a night chart, and if your Venus natally is in an okay place, then you might want to consider working with, I don't know, Venus in Taurus talisman, so Venus in Libra or in Pisces. Yes, but if Jupiter is the best benefic for you, okay, if you're a day chart, then you might want to be working, you need to see your Jupiter, might want to be working with a Jupiter. Another way, because Mars is about severing ties, it can be the case that you would actually want to work with Mars. This is already working with the malefic, which is more advanced, because Mars is going to get you to do something about something. Okay, Mars is the planet of action, and Mars can also sever ties when needed. So you could be using Mars to sever ties, to gain the courage to look deeply psychologically into something. But because it's Venus in your seventh, if you have a natal Venus and it's your Venus return, then on the one hand you have more likelihood of forming a committed connection or partnership. On the other hand, the intensity of Mars is increased, because your natal Venus is Marsy, and we would want to either support this Venus, and be aware that you might say, oh, I will take this Mars and I will use it to do love magic and get the person. It's kind of like, no, you don't want to have psychological control over anybody. That will end up bad for both of you. So depending on which and where's your Mars, then those are things to consider. As she ingresses into Sagittarius, which is kind of like the more brighter, lighter, the more free Venus, then she ingresses into your 8th house. Okay, so this is a good chance to give you a little bit of a timeless teaching around your 7th and 8th house, because your 7th house of commitment is very intense. It's the kind of house that want the partner all for yourself, but not necessarily able to be all with them, or maybe yes. Okay, some Scorpio placements are incredibly focused on one person and not cheating and so on and so forth. But others are kind of like, I'm possessive. I don't know if I can commit. Okay, so you need to see which Scorpio you are and which Scorpio your partner is. And now in Sagittarius also likes freedom. Okay, Scorpio loves freedom. It likes receiving it more than giving it. It's not that it doesn't like giving it, it's just find it difficult to let go. And Sagittarius has left less trouble. Okay, Sagittarius is always distracted by the next best thing. It's a mutable fire sign, constant challenging. It likes the chase, but in a very light way and philosophical, kind of like, let's venture into the horizon together, not just look at each other, kind of a Goethe way. But it's kind of like your 7th house is Scorpio, but the inner shadow, the 8th house, is requiring more freedom than you even imagine. So you could get yourself into a monogamous relationship, manage to be, everything is okay at the Scorpio, but then the trouble comes from the Sagittarius, which is why do we even block each other's commitment so much to other, partners or sexual experiences or philosophical or astral experiences? In the best of cases, it can literally mean, I am married to my partner, we're having an open relationship, and we're having sex with astral beings together and apart, and it's just who we are, okay? But in places where your Jupiter and Mars natally are not in harmonious relations, then you may find more difficult to go from the 7th to the 8th, to go to like, okay, after marriage, we actually want more freedom than we expected. Okay, and so when Venus is going to ingress there, freedom becomes something that's a bit of a trauma. It's something that steers things that you want to swipe out of the, under the rug. It's like, oh, I finally found a serious partner. They ain't cheating. I ain't worried. And then I'll meet somebody. Okay? We got married. And then I find out that I feel suffocated. Going from the 7th to the 8th is always the sign after. This is why it's always kind of like a crisis. Just like after marriage, it's like, oh shit. Now we have to deal with each other on a completely different intimate level that's totally different from the previous sign inherently by the zodiac. So the Venus ingress into your 8th is going to give you a certain insight into a place that is not so easily accessible from your ascendant unless you have Venus in the 8th house natally. And that is where your values, your hidden values of freedom needing are going to make themselves more evident. Okay, something that happens every 2 and something years or so when Venus crosses Sagittarius. Okay, so it's not something that happens every 20 years, but you're going to have to deal with that one again. So Venus is ruling your 1st and your 6th house. So in your 8th can be more of a heavyweight time, although she's in Sagittarius. That's pretty much the deal for you. Of course, Mars will already be in Sagittarius by this time. Okay, not much to worry about. So that is pretty much the deal for you. It's a month where a lot happens, and it's involving the 8th house for you, the 12th house for you. Even the 9th house can be heavyweight because it's ruled by Saturn for you, but also it is your worldview and the details of your worldview, which is quite, big. How you see the world is a big issue. Maybe I'm biased because I have Scorpio in the 9th, natally, whole sign speaking. So even though it's not a month where something bombastic like an eclipse happens or a billion planets on the 22nd, you could have this Mercury on the 22nd with the turning direct, I believe, of Neptune. But it is a month where there's a lot of movement forward and some going backwards that is needed. When there's a lot of activity in your 12th and in your 8th house. So for you are going to feel it increasing also the things that you swipe under the rug. Okay, when Venus exits Sagittarius, yes, when Chiron is not that triggered in your 12th, okay, when nothing goes or aspects it, you're gonna feel better. And you're gonna just feel Jupiter direct in your 1st until it will conjunct Uranus. You have some time to kind of enjoy the Jupiter in your 1st house phase. And if Jupiter is your benefic out of sect, which can also cause problems, you can just turn to Venus. Okay, you need to see it, of course, but if you might be possible for you to turn to Venus and kind of like, hey, Venus, could you fix that Jupiter, and petition her to do so. It happens. This is it. And I'll see you in my next episodes.